All right, so it is saying that I am going live, or that I am in fact live at the moment. However, I cannot be 100% sure. So I'm going to give it a second and see. All right, if everything's going well. And while I wait on that, I will see who else is here. Of course, we got Owl Waifu, which is always fun. Ebenezer 1690, always a pleasure. What's going on? Zoom in the house. JJMFDL. Tim Ash. I'm doing well, Zoom. How about yourself? I'm doing just well. Just enjoying the day. All right. So I haven't done this in a while, so it's going to take me a little bit to get this back in and to be entertaining to you people. Let me know how the audio and everything is coming in, and what you guys like and what you guys enjoy. For those who are watching, yes, this is going to include spoilers because I have recently watched the episode from Orville, Identity Part 1 and 2. I think it was Identity Part 1 and 2. Basically, it's the Wolf 359 of Orville itself. And one thing that struck me about that as I was watching it is that I felt really extremely invested in it. And I never felt that invested when it came to Star Trek Discovery. Like, ever. David Taylor says, thought you were taking a little time off. I am taking a little time off. This is me relaxing, hanging out with some of my besties. This is me just being here. If I was actually working, I would be making videos. Matthew Wilhot got bored. I did not get bored. Not at all. Anyway, so if you guys haven't been here, you haven't been a part of a live stream, basically the way this works is I'm just going to sit here and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. John DeMarco in the house. And it's really a discussion. That's what this channel is. It's a discussion between you and me, and we'll just go where it goes for however long it goes. I actually would love to start doing this again, at least 2 to 5 a week. I don't know. That seems like a little much. I may actually go over to Twitch, but if I'm doing Twitch, I'm going to play whatever game I want to play. I'm not going to do Star Trek. I might do Star Trek, but it's just going to be whatever game I want to play. But back to what we were talking about, specifically Orville Wolf 359, their war with the Kalons versus Star Trek Discovery and the war they had. And in fact, I think we should bring in like Deep Space Nine and the war there, because I was invested in that too. I just really wasn't when it comes to Discovery. And I think that has a couple of things that goes into it, in my opinion. I think that with Orville and Deep Space Nine, Orville and Deep Space Nine, in my opinion, pulled a Marvel, whereas Star Trek Discovery pulled a DC. Now, what I mean by that is that with both Orville and Deep Space Nine, they took time to actually build up the characters, to make you become invested in the story and what's happening to the people, versus Discovery that just gets you in the middle of it. From the very first episode, we've hit the Klingon War. And the Klingon Federation War. But in Orville and DS9, that took a season or 2 or 3, right? So you actually got to know the people. It actually mattered to you what happened. And in fact, I think you see that in Discovery now, right? I think that when you take a look at Discovery Season 2 and them going up against Section 31 or going up against the AI or anything like that, people like it more because now they know the crew a little bit better. I mean, to what degree they can. But honestly, I honestly think that the reason why I enjoy Orville more and the Deep Space Nine is because they went out of their way, right? I have a question, Allure. What's your favorite design in all Star Trek? I like the Akira class. Always have. That's always been my favorite. Alice Robinson says Season 2 has been real A+ show so far. I wouldn't say that. It's a lot of people say it's better. A lot of people say Discovery is a lot better in Season 2. It may be a lot better, but it still hasn't reached the gravitas of Trek for me. You know... Again, saying something is better doesn't mean it's good. in my opinion, right? Babylon 5 also, although it is not Shrek. The Babylon 5 War, I would agree in there too. And I think that's really where it all comes down to. Star Trek Discovery just threw you in the middle of it and relied too much on its franchise, on the name Star Trek. And they wanted you to be invested because you had been invested beforehand. Orville went out of its way to make you feel for the people or, become a part of it, as did Deep Space Nine. And I'll be honest with you, with the exception of, and I forget the name of the Discovery episode. What was the name of the Discovery episode where they go and are trying to get fuel? The Klingons break through the blockade. They're attacking the dilithium mine, or the main dilithium planet, and you have families there. With the exception of that specific episode, I really felt like the actual scenes were more impactful too. Like, it mattered when you were seeing on the Orville the security just getting absolutely wasted. It felt like there was an actual struggle there, even though they were getting absolutely destroyed, in my opinion. Darren Wagner, Laura, what the hell are you doing live? I thought I would do a live stream, man. It's my vacation. I'm relaxing. And how else would I relax except hanging with you lovely people? I mean, who the hell else wouldn't do that? Arium was a hello and a goodbye. Oh, I agree with that. Also, I hate that they got rid of the first security chief. I don't think they did that on purpose. I think that she left of her own. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. For the grace, for the might of our Lord, for the home of the holy. What the hell are you talking about, Jorge War Crimes? What the hell is going on there? But yeah, I mean, going back to what we were talking about, the Wolf 359 and the battle, again, there's going to be some spoilers here, was intriguing. It was interesting. It added something to what was going on. And the other thing I liked about it, and I think this is even better than any Star Trek that you can find, it felt like they were a real outfit, a real defense force, a real military. When they realized that they were about to be attacked by the Kalons, they had almost as much as the entire fleet that they could, and they put up one hell of a fight. So I really, again, it's just, I think that the Orville is taking the reins and going above and beyond. For those who don't know, I actually was interviewed in the UK. I was actually interviewed by a newspaper. And one of the things they asked me was, do you think the Orville is derivative? Which obviously it is derivative, in my opinion. But I don't know that that's a bad thing. But I think that they're taking the reins from what TNG and DS9 used to be, and they're going with the next step. It's obviously a copy to a degree. But I think they're doing better with it. And why is that necessarily bad? Anti-Trekker up in the house. Donating with a super chat. Thank you so much. As you guys know, that's how I support and keep the lights running. Check out Anti-Trekker if you haven't. He is drastically, criminally under-subbed. He says, "Hey, Lauren, nice to see you live again." Yep, just relaxing. For those who don't know, I am taking a somewhat of a break if you haven't watched any of my other videos. And I decided to take a live stream to do that with. Matthew Wilhout, the actress for the first security chief, had RL conflict or something, I recall reading. Yeah, when you're looking at the Orville, the security chief, she left for whatever reason. They did not get rid of her. Aloha Lore, what's going on? Surf Trektonics, great you have a live stream again. Anti-Trekker is awesome. Don't even talk about Anti-Trekker. I watch his live streams. Don't even lie. The show absolutely feels more like a military vessel, making the most of talents and abilities on a ship. Yeah, see, that's my thing. Again, I really liked the identity, and I really liked that battle because, again, it felt like you had a military that was defending its home. You didn't, honest to God, it didn't feel like that when you look at the Battle of Wolf 359, especially when you look at the ships that they're throwing at them. I mean, they were throwing O-berths, they were throwing everything but the kitchen sink. And that's not to put down Wolf 5/9. It was well done, but it really shows how a real military, how it would really happen, I think, in the future. As crazy as this sounds, I think what we saw with Orville was probably more realistic on how a organization of that type would come together, even one that was meant for exploration. The Federation and Starfleet during that time is far, far too pacifistic, far too melancholy, I think. But again, going back to what we were talking about, the battle itself was also, I don't want to say choreographed. That doesn't feel like that is the right word. But it was well put together. The scenes were really tight, and the battle seemed realistic. And one of the things I enjoyed about it, too, for those who haven't seen, is I like the fact that both sides were getting hits off. A lot of the times, and even in Deep Space Nine, it feels like one side or the other would win. You didn't really have a lot of intermixing. However, in the Orville episode, both sides were still taking a beating. You were seeing both sides get the hell beat out of themselves, because that's what exactly would happen. Yofit, nope. USS Orville wasn't just some silly civvy ship, even though it has kids on board. It was a real deal warship. Yeah, I mean, again, I've never thought that exploratory ships or definitely military ships should ever have families on them. But it does feel more like a military ship, or one that was built to be both military and exploratory. Honestly, and I think Anti-Trekker would agree with me on this, it feels like it's taking the TNG episodes, but it really has a original series feel, minus the kids. Because in the original series, they were explorers. They were also soldiers. They were also military men, but it was trying to be a utopia and such. But they still had to deal with the Klingons, and they still had to deal with the Romulans, and they still had to deal with all of these other issues. So it was still a military. And I honestly think that the Orville has that feel to it. Ryan Ellis helping out the channel. Who do you like to see back in the Picard series? I honestly, I don't know, because the Picard series I think is going to be like Discovery, which just is not my cup of tea. I would like to see Geordi. Data you can't do because Data's dead, assuming that it's continuity. It may not be. But Geordi, I'd like to see Crusher and Picard together. Geordi and Barclay. Honestly, I'd love to see Barclay in there. But I really wasn't as attached to any of the others. It'd be nice to see Troy, I guess, and the second in command, Riker. There we go. Oh, hell. I shouldn't have done this, because now I realize I'm tired, because I usually go to sleep about now because I'm old. Yeah, guys, if you're watching, don't forget to hit the like button and enjoy. What is going on? Fun with Agent Maxine. I'm new to the channel. Well, welcome to the channel. Stormblind, first live stream I've managed to catch. Well, it's the first one I've done in 6 months, so you caught it. You're good. And it's in the middle of your vacation. Yeah, it is. I'm just enjoying it. I thought the 2009 Countdown comic was canon. To my knowledge, none of the comics are canon, unless they've changed their opinion on that. The only thing canon in Star Trek right now, as far as I know, unless CBS and Paramount have changed their minds, is anything that you see on screen. Really, the only thing they go back and forth on is the animated series. The animated series sometimes is canon, sometimes it's not. It really depends on how they're feeling. It was not considered canon for the longest time until late Voyager or late Enterprise, I want to say. They just changed their minds on that. Jason, High Lore Reloaded reminded me of the scene from Enterprise where the NX-01 was leading the ships in that one episode. Yeah, I mean, the one thing I will say, and again, there's going to be spoilers here. The one thing that was disappointing to me, well, not disappointing, but I thought was a stupid moment, was the 13-button salute. For anyone who saw that. So what happened, for those who hadn't seen it, is the Orville, they came across a ship and they had the Kaylon fleet. So the Kaylons had taken over the Orville, and they were going back to Earth. And the Orville was supposed to pretend that everything was okay and that it was going to be a peaceful situation and everything, and they were forcing the crew to do it, which I have some issues with that, but let's just go with it. And so they run into another ship, and the captain tries to tell the other captain that something's going on by saying the 13-button salute, which is what you're supposed to say if the ship has been taken over. What I don't like about that is the 13-button salute, having that is idiotic. Because just like what happened, if anyone knows or goes through the regulations, then they know that you're going to use that. And what would have made more sense, and how, and Anti-Trekker would know this better than me probably, but my understanding is if you're ever being forced to do something in the military, at least historically, you do a symbol with your hands, or you do something with your hands or with your body, and you don't say something specific, because what happened, right? I think it would have made a lot more sense if he had done something with his hands or done some kind of signal and they picked up on that signal. Because again, 13-button salute just, I mean, I get that there may have been I get that there may have been an in joke there. Like you guys are saying, some people are saying that's what they use in the military to talk about having sex or something. That's fine. Just talking about in universe, it being some kind of code word is stupid to me. To be honest, I think the Orville should have taken a lot more damage and been out of action for months in showtime. Yeah, I mean, there are some things you just have to let go. Because it took a hell of a lot of damage. Of course, the Orville has taken more damage than that in the past. Here's something I read. So here's an interesting theory that I think I'm going to try to do at some point, which you guys may appreciate. So for those who've actually watched the Orville, there's an episode where this woman attempts to hijack the Orville and take it through time because it was supposed to be destroyed or something of that nature. And she removes it from time. And she even states that the Orville doesn't do anything of note, or nothing of note happens after the Orville is removed. And so here's the question. If the Orville had been destroyed, or the Orville had been taken into the future, would the attack still have happened? Or would they have decided not to attack? Would the fact that the Orville survived, did that cause all of those deaths? Bloken Arrow says, if something has gone wrong, you identify yourself as Captain Wesley Crusher. You do. That's in fact in the code. In United States Naval Code, you say that you're Captain Crusher. No one's ever caught on to it. I think the robots were dumb enough that they could have said, we are under no distress and are not being forced to be compliant. Oh, man. Kalon noticed Captain Mercer's body heat signature and eye dilation to notice he was lying. Was not the fort? No, that's the thing. That's incorrect, Surf Trexonics. You should rewatch it because I just watched it. They specifically point out saying that code is used. It was written down that that's the code you use, which is why it's stupid to write that down. And why it would make more sense that if you're going to write something down, make it be some form or some point of mild or barely noticeable action. Again, something with your fingers or something of that nature that someone might notice but isn't in your face, like specifically saying it. ZE Film Productions, I thought you were taking the week off. I am taking the week off. This is me relaxing. Trust me, guys, if I was actually working, if this was not a vacation, I wouldn't be doing this. What I would be doing is making more videos for you guys and not seeing the light of day. I take it more as a fact that she was a grifter who didn't communicate clearly. She was just trying to minimize the amount of fight and resistance. Stormblind says, in me referencing Priya, who said nothing of note ever happened with the Orville. I mean, it's possible. She could have been lying. I mean, that's granted. But I don't know. I guess it's possible that she was lying and attempting to get past it. But it really just seems more interesting to me to think that, hey, maybe They their existence caused that fight and caused all that death. It's just kind of an interesting review of it, I think. Zoom says yes, because Isaac's information got back to them, and then Isaac spent 700 years monitoring the humanoids, which sped up the invasion, okay, by hundreds of years. Maybe. Salute with your pinky at a 90% angle. That will never be noticed. Blinking SOS, tapping the table a certain way, acting out using words you usually hate. Your goal is to give red flags to people who you know, basically, says Chad. Yeah, going back to them giving it away. I get that they just wanted to show how powerful the Kalons were. I think you can honestly work your way around that. I do think that you could write something where the ship is still destroyed. Talk to you later, Jorge. Thanks for coming. If this was not a vacation, we'd be getting 15 episode breakdowns of the best TNG episode ever, Season 2's Shade of Grey. That is fact. That is actually what's happening next week. 15 breakdowns, 5, so that's 3 episodes a day, specifically on Shades of Grey. Nothing else. This is quite comfy. I've really missed the live streams. I'd like to get back into the live streams. We're just going to have to see what happens. You know, guys, here's the thing when it comes to live streams, because a lot of people request them, but I don't think you really... Well, you may get it. The thing with the live streams is that for me to make the videos that you guys want me to make, it is literally like a full... It is literally a full day's work. And I hate saying that because I don't feel like what I give you guys reflects that. But it does take me a lot of the day. Not all of that is editing or recording, because a lot of it is research, a lot of it is confirming, a lot of it is trying to prove what I am saying is wrong, because I always try to prove what I'm saying is wrong. I found that works so that I don't make as many errors as I do. And then it's the recording, the editing. There's a lot that goes into it. The Orville is better than Star Trek Discovery because it doesn't take itself too seriously. I can agree with that. Zoom asking, how is school going? Still got a 4.0. About to finish this one. Here's something crazy. I'm taking an accelerated degree in digital cinematography. My graduation date is February 2020. That is not far away. First time I've actually caught one of your live chats. Usually I'm listening to audio only on MP3 player at work. Well, welcome, Turbo 8. Are you sure about that? I guess you would know, but I felt like you've talked before, Turbo. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Real life example, challenge and password or duress codes like Vatican cameos for Sherlock and Watson. Okay. I don't know. What do you guys think? For those who have actually seen Orville and Identity, compared against TNG's Wolf 359, compared against Deep Space Nine, the Dominion War, how do you feel about the way it was done? Is it on par? Is it better? What are your guys' feelings and thoughts? Al Weifu says, congrats. I'm going to give you a saber because why not? Yeah, exactly. Why not? Everybody deserves a saber. Who doesn't? By the way, guys, if you're watching this, don't forget to hit that like button or that thumbs down button, whatever you guys want. I really need to get back into these, though, because I don't feel like I'm doing well. I'm not impressing you as much as I have historically. What's your opinion on the difference between the Gorn in the original series episode Arena and the Gorn in the Enterprise episode In a Mirror Darkly? Was there a Gorn in a Mirror Darkly? Yeah, I guess there was. They were both awesome, I guess. See, that's one of the things people get onto. A lot of people say, you don't want it updated and you don't want to see things better. That's simply not true. I think that you just have to do it in a way that's respectful, because I don't have a problem with most of what they did in Enterprise. I think that it was I don't have a problem with most of what they did in Enterprise. And I think that they tried to be somewhat respectful of the material. Now, sometimes they didn't care. A lot of people talk about how Discovery just doesn't care about continuity. Enterprise and Voyager were just as bad in some instances, if not worse. So, but that said, the spirit of the shows were better. So I really think that they did mostly try to do their best with it, right? I prefer 359, Wolf 359. Granted, it was more epic, I guess, but I feel like the Wolf had way more effect. But I guess the Orville still hasn't had much of a chance, so we'll see. I don't know. I guess. I recently was watching Lore Runner's Best of Both Worlds, his part 1. I guess it would have more gravitas. Because they were trying to do a lot more, and they had a B and a C plot. Well, B plot for sure. No, they had a B and a C plot. Yeah, I can see that. I guess that makes sense, that it felt like there was more gravitas. Worst part of Enterprise was the end. It was all a simulation. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the funny part. A lot of people get mad that it was a simulation, but everybody wanted it to be a simulation. Everybody was talking about how they don't want it to be real and stuff like that. No, not everybody, but a large contingent of people. JJMFD is going to bed. Well, hope you have a wonderful night. Good, sir. I probably won't stay on too much longer. I just wanted to get my feet wet and see what's going on. It is, after all, my vacation. I'm always confused about, Adam Ridgewell says, I'm always confused about people loving Wolf 359. We didn't see the battle except a couple of minutes in Deep Space Nine. How does it even compare? So the thing with Wolf 359, and the reason why people enjoy it, was because of the impact and the writing. David E. helped me out, says, you're imaginative and insightful. Cheers. Thank you so much. Again, super chats, along with just watching and everything, help me feed my kids and keep the lights on and everything. So it's really appreciative. But going back to Wolf 359, and what we were talking about before, there was a gravitas to the Borg. The Borg couldn't be defeated at this time in Trek, and they were some of the most devastating enemies. And it wasn't really the Battle of Wolf 359. As you said, we only see 30 seconds to a minute or something like that, right? But what is impactful is we see how that affects Riker and the crew, and how they can barely just keep up with this enemy. And I think that's where it's coming from. Not the battle itself, but the impact of the battle. It goes back to why I think Orville, the war, this 2-part war, was better than the entirety of Discovery. And that's because of the impact that it had. It felt like Star Trek Discovery, the Klingon Federation War, was basically a Days of Our Lives type thing, only for science fiction. It was just something that happened in the background. But with the Orville, the war had impact. It mattered. And until the very end, I don't think it ever felt like that. And again, they rushed the war so much that it didn't matter. Like before they left into the mirror universe with the spore drive, the Federation was winning. They come back, they overshoot it on the timeline, and all of a sudden they've lost. There's nothing gained there. I didn't watch them continue to get beat. I didn't feel what it was to have a Federation and a Starfleet move into the dire consequences or the dire straits that they were in. One of the pieces of the ending of Discovery was how the Admiralty and how everyone except for Burnham had forgotten what it was to be Starfleet. But it wasn't earned. They tell me what happened, but I never really experienced it. Again, and I'm sure someone said it. I forget the episode. It was an episode with Lorca where the dilithium planet was getting hit hard. That actually showed people suffering in the war. And that was the only point that it had, I think. Shari Nagel, $10. Thank you so much. David Ming says, what? You mean the marked difference in writing and visual verbal storytelling? Yes, David Mings, I would say that. They lose because Michael Burnham was in a different universe. Yeah, the first season was heavily dependent on Michael. I think they're moving away from that. I wish the war with the Klingons had ended by the Federation winning the battle for Earth. The problem with that, DG? The problem with that, DG, is that would have, not that they really cared necessarily, but that would have went against continuity. Because we know that the Klingons never attacked Earth or never attempted to attack Earth. Now, they got around that on a technicality. They just surrounded Earth. Never attacked it. Never attempted. My people would have never attempted, says Martok. Or never attempted that. They just surrounded Earth. If I was rewriting it, I'm not sure how I'd rewrite it, to be honest. I would have to rewrite Discovery to make it in a way that I think was more on par with what we see in the Orville or what we see in the Dominion War. To do it in the first season would be tough. To start the Klingon Federation War and end it and make people care about the war, I think would be pretty tough. Even with the spore drive, I probably would have written it in a way where they just were barely hanging on and barely stopping the tide. All the way to the end. Why does the Federation have admirals who want to kill the Federation and people inside the Federation instead of actually wanting to help it? Because they always needed a bad guy, and why don't you just have the Admiralty do that? The Admiralty, honestly, is when you look at how TNG and DS9 treat them, they are very corrupt. Very, very corrupt in a lot of ways, honestly. It's kind of sad. They could not win without the guiding hand of God Emperor Michael Burnham. I mean, truth is just truth. Star Trek Discovery rewritten. I could have been. Identity and Best of Both Worlds are similar in the fact that they both are the point when the shows cemented themselves as great sci-fi. Yeah, I mean, for TNG, for sure. I mean, if you've watched Lore Runner or if you've done any research, Best of Both Worlds really put TNG on the map. They weren't as well known before that. I can honestly see, I'll say this, I can honestly see the Orville making its way and being on par with Star Trek. But I think it's going to take time. And honestly, I don't think we're going to know how people really feel about Orville until 3 or 4 years later, or if not 5 or 6. Right now, everybody's comparing Orville against Discovery. And I think that in 3 to 5 years from now, people aren't going to care, and Orville will stand on its own or not. And I really think that's when we'll really know. Resolute Germ up in the house. Hope you're doing well. I did like TNG hit her stride by season 3. I feel like TNG hit her stride by season 3. Yeah, generally, Trek has, and again, a lot of people try to use this to say, Discovery is just, they just got to hit their stride. You just got to give them enough time because of all the rest. And that's a fallacy argument in and of itself. But generally, Trek did have to take a couple of seasons before people started liking it or before they found where they wanted to go with it. That was in both TNG and Deep Space Nine. Arguably, some has said Voyager. I don't know how I feel about that, but that's what some people have said. Enterprise, it took till like season 4, season 4, season 5, whatever the last 2 seasons were, and it finally started hitting it. And they really, what was horrible is, I think it was season 3, where they had the Expanse, which I think knocked it out of the park. And then they went and did something stupid with Nazis, which is just, yeah. I enjoy that the Orville is stepping out, but it really needs to stand as its own thing. I think they are relying a lot of TNG tropes. Was I the only one whose brain got all giddy watching Orville and had your inner voice shouting Tuvok before his character said a single word? Probably. What do you think Garak's future would be? I think Garak would lead his people as best he could and become leader or ambassador of Cardassium. In fact, for my fan fiction, my pitch to CBS, I had him as the leader of Cardassia. What about a spin-off show with Pike and young Spock aboard the Enterprise? Yeah, wasn't that the Anti-Trekker? Isn't that what he pitched? I think that could work. I really like Pike. Spock is fine. I don't hate Spock. I think it'd be interesting to watch. I don't think they'll do it for a couple of reasons. I think it gets kind of hairy. I think that you're messing with continuity even more than you would in Discovery. And I don't think the politics would allow two white guys to be the heroes of a future episode right now, if I'm being honest. Your Picard TV pitch was really well done. Well, thanks, Cyborg. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Enterprise is my favorite Star Trek show. I'm not sorry. Season 3 was so horrifically good, I can't even put it into words. I mean, I don't think Enterprise was the best. I think The Expanse, they did well. I think the last season, with few exceptions, but definitely the last episode, they were doing really well. And I think that if they had been allowed to continue, their ratings would have continued to go up, because their ratings were actually climbing at the time they got canceled. 255 AD question: how do you identify ideologically? Conservative, centrist, liberal, socialist, etc. I don't really talk about that, if I'm being honest. I think when you watch, you can see pretty clearly my beliefs. I don't think it's that hard. But the point of the channel is, doesn't matter what you believe. It's for us to come and have fun and enjoy. And if we pull something out of it, then I think that's great. If it relates to the real world. But I generally try to stay out of that. I actually like the fact that people from the Anti-Trekker or Mecha Random or Nerdrotics or Steven Crowder or the Drunken Peasants or Steve Shives come and watch my shows. All channels I know who have had people say they've come from those channels to mine. Because I think that we're too divided. I will say this, though. Generally, it depends on the topic when it comes to what I believe. So if you talk to me when it comes to welfare or to taxes, I may seem a little bit more liberal. But when it comes to anything else to do with economics or military, it may come off conservative. Apparently, whether I believe in God or not also identifies where I lie, which I think is irrelevant. Can the Tholians die because they're boring? Yes. In fact, little known thing, if this is true, go back and watch it in Enterprise. Tholians will actually die if they are boring. What do I think of Steve Shives? Steve Shives is a friend of mine who I actually have on Facebook, and when I was into politics, because I had a channel that was political, was on it ever so often. But Steve Shives has also called me a sexist. Straight to my face. So that's what I think. Zoom, I'm heading off. Good to see you again, man. Have a great break. Thanks, man. I hope to do these more so I can see you. Guys, if you haven't, go to twitch.tv/Lore Reloaded. I'll probably be much more likely to go there, but I'm going to be honest. When I'm here, when I'm on this channel, I have to be on. I have to sit here and talk about science fiction. I have to do something entertaining on that. If I'm going to do it on Twitch, it's just going to be me hanging out, just playing a game and just hanging out. So if you want to hang out with me, then definitely come on. He comes off as a prick, no offense. I'm sure he wouldn't take offense at that. Dude, please wear a colorful shirt. For you, Captain's sake, next time, colorful shirt. I just noticed your channel profile pic was an L and an R. Yet it is. It's been that way for a year or more now. P.S. Steve Shives has no... Well, possibly. I probably even lost subscribers. See, that's the whole thing about the... I don't necessarily want to get into it too much. But it is ridiculous the way we are. The channel is supposed to be a conversation. We're supposed to be able to disagree. So here's my thing. If someone comes on and it's like, I like Discovery. I don't care what you say. I like Discovery. You know what? Fantastic. I'm glad that you like Discovery. And I mean that sincerely. If you like Discovery, whatever. if you disagree with how I interpreted the drumhead, that's fine. Let's come on and have a conversation. Now, I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I'm a jerk, especially if you catch me wrong or I just woke up or I'm in a bad mood. I have responded in ways that I shouldn't have, but I try to keep it as an open conversation and just keep it moving. I don't know. Anytime I take a position on anything, people get so angry and so upset, and that is just sad, in my opinion. This live feed is 100% not actually Trek. Actually, I don't even know what that means. Not actually Trek. Actually, what is Trek? Actually, what is that specifically? Hey, Laura, what's your least favorite Star Trek episode and why? I don't know. That's oh no, I do know. It's the Voyager Warp 10 episode because it makes absolutely no sense. It's the worst. It destroys evolution. That's not how evolution works in the slightest. It says screw off to any kind of continuity, especially in TNG, and it just makes no real sense to it. It adds nothing. Yeah. That's the world now, man. It sucks. Says you're talking about it. Well, here's the thing I do like about Star Trek, and here's the thing I kind of I enjoy about science fiction. So one of the things I like doing, first off, I like being an entertainer. I love doing this. I love doing something that you guys get something out of and you guys enjoy. And that's the first and foremost. But the second thing is I think that we can take a look at science fiction or anything really that we want to watch and get something out of it and tell us what we are. Like the drumhead, I think, if you've watched my drumhead breakdown, and you guys really should, I'd stay as neutral as I can in that. Watch every episode of the drumhead and look in the comments. No matter what you believe, the people who commented there, regardless of what they believe, the opposite of whatever they were was the bad guy in that. And I think that first off, is not only telling how biased people are, but I think that shows that science fiction and shows like Star Trek, shows like Star Wars, they speak to us and they can tell us things. It really, honestly, to trigger, if we're going to use that word, what triggers me is people who are like, well, it's just a show. It doesn't matter. It's not real. BS. Stories have always talked to us in every single way. Stories and media and shows look at the human condition and break it down. It's just a show? No, it's not just a show. It is something that if you want to do more than just enjoy it, you can find about the meaning of life. And I'm sorry, in my opinion, you can't do that with a football game. But that's just me. I would love CBS to employ you to make all future Trek. CBS has not historically liked me, but they seem to be coming around. Last question before I go. Why do you think sci-fi ships tend to be made with 100% military grade explodium? Because it looks good on TV. If I was to try to use it in real life, or try to make it make sense, I would say that the reason why they explode easy is because you're in space and the type of weapons you're using are pretty devastating. Again, going back to the original series, one of the things I liked about the original series was that the weapons felt real. When they hit, once shields dropped and they hit, that's a big deal. Somebody's going to die. Now, there were ships that could take several hits, but still, someone was going to die. Have you broken down the Federation economy? I feel like they claim to be socialists, but there's mention of the profits in the original series and credits in Deep Space Nine. I haven't, and that would be really hard to do. In the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, most most of the dialogue indicates that the humans and probably the Federation have no economy, that they don't use credits or anything like that, which makes sense if you have replicators. Now, other species do, including Romulans, Ferengi, Cardassians, and because of that, there is some supply that the Federation would have, some money. But this is to interact with other organizations. Now, after saying that, 1,000 people are about to put in the comments if they're rewatching this, or you're about to say right here before the lag comes up, but Episode X has A, B, and C. TNG first episode, they talk about putting it on the account. In the Measure of a Man, talks about Picard buying dinner for the woman that he wants to spread eagle. There are individual inconsistencies, but by and large, from TNG on, it's made to believe that it is a perfect, I don't know if it's communistic or socialist utopia. I guess communist, maybe. I don't know. A utopia without currency. The original series always had currency. Enterprise always had currency, and Discovery. So Enterprise, Discovery, and the original series still utilized money. And again, I think that they tried to make it with the replicator, which would make sense. Once you've made a replicator, you don't need food. You don't need you don't need to buy things. So I'm a brown coat. I actually have lore on Firefly, if you enjoy that. I remember you saying you could be bought to make Discovery look good. I love that video. You know, here's the problem. Here's the thing with how I do stuff now versus how I do stuff then. As I've stated a couple of times, that I am a film student. And the more I go through film school and the more I see the politics and the what is it, back baseball or whatever, behind the scenes, the more sympathy I have, and the less likely I want to go off on someone for just how horrific it is. I have talked to people behind the scenes when it comes to the Orville and a few others and a few other shows. And actually, I have at least one, possibly 2 or 3 writers from Voyager who are going to be corresponding with me. And I am far more forgiving of writers now, even Discovery writers, given everything they have to go through. Now, wrong's wrong. Like you said, the reason I don't know that I could be a writer for CBS, because I don't know that I would be able to look at myself in the mirror and do what they want me to do, if I'm being honest. Every civilization in Star Trek is slightly communist. For example, Dominion, Borg, and kind of Federation. Yeah, every time I get into a conversation on what is the Federation, is it communist, is it socialist, inevitably, it's like talking to... it's like having a debate in religion, and you can choose whatever you want, Christian, Islam, Buddhist. Anytime I'm like, well, I think they're communist, whoever I'm talking to is going to define communism as something different than the way I define communism. And so it's just, that's why I don't get into it. Yeah, CBS actually, in the background, did not like me. They've come a bit around. I think that's more given my size than my rhetoric. But when my channel was in like the 20,000s, they made it clear that I was a pariah. Now, again, apparently that's changed because I've been contacted by a few. Now there's apparently you're able to talk to me. But yeah. So anyway, you guys got any questions, anything else to talk about? I'm going to probably be ending it fairly shortly. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. There are, 91 people watching and only 66 thumbs up? What's going on with that? What is up with that? The Dominion is not communist. That is not right. It's all even in communism. That would be like saying Ukrainians had less rights than Russians during the time of the USSR. That is not right. Thank you, Urity, for proving my point on why I don't discuss whether it's communist or socialist or any ism. Lore, I thought you said you were going to take a well-earned day off. Though glad to see you online. Yeah, KDB. A lot of people get confused by this. This is me relaxing. If I was actually on right now, I would be writing a script and doing research on the Orville. What is all your favorite time? What is your all-time favorite science fiction show? I don't know right now. I really like Babylon 5. Honestly, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, if you can believe it or not. The following argument bothers me. The argument is this. Section 31 is the Star Trek equivalent of the CIA. What do I think about this? Section 31... Section 31 is the equivalent of the CIA. I think... Man, I don't want to get into this. Are you going to get people yelling at me? Because, I mean, the first thing I think is I don't think the CIA is as bad as Section 31. But, of course, now I'm going to have 1,000 comments. Stargate's all right. Never really got into Stargate. Let me rephrase. I never really watched Stargate as much as I did the others. I've watched the first couple of seasons. What are your loose thoughts on last week's Orville episode? It was fine. Michael Weir, wow. Hey, Laura, hope you're having an awesome break. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much. Michael Weir has always been a huge supporter of the channel. Giving $50. Again, Super Chats, Patreon, and just watching this stuff is how I keep the lights on. And Raw Set says, good night. I've got Army PT in the morning. Well, thank you so much for supporting your country, Rossette, regardless of what military. Thank you so much. Michael Weir has always been a huge supporter of the channel, and thank you, Michael. It's not unnoticed. I don't even know where I was going with that. I know you were busy as all hell, but if I didn't keep bugging you every once in a while to play some old Star Trek PC games, it'll never happen. Cyborg, yeah, you keep asking me to. We need to do that, man. I really don't want... I really want to do that. I'm not trying to avoid you. If we do, it'll probably be on twitch.tv/Laura Reloaded. It'll just be you and me. CIA has some oversight, but Section 31, at least in DS9, was a rogue organization. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, I think the CIA is actually better than Section 31 based on everything we've seen. Now, if you're going to tell me if you're going to tell me the CIA is as bad as Section 31 and worse because of X, Y, and Z, I'm just going to say, okay, well, then I guess I was wrong. I'm not going to argue with you about it. But my first response is that Section 31 is worse than the CIA for a couple of reasons. Because of the oversight, and to my knowledge, talk to you later, Turbo. Thanks for hanging out. To my knowledge, they've never done anything on the scale that Section 31 has done or would do. Yeah, as far as I know. I'll gladly rejoin Star Trek Online to fly with your... So right now, I'm in a fight with Star Trek Online. I've lost my main account that's been there forever, and they haven't restored it. I don't know how I feel about that, but if they restore it, I'm going to start making videos on that again. Lore Reloaded is a slightly improved Jonathan Frakes with expansing borders. I don't know what that means. Al Weifu, at least the CIA didn't poison an entire species. Yeah, that's one of the things that I would say is that they didn't. Why do the Romulans want talking so badly? Very stare empire? What's one planet they left? Broken Eyes, I don't... Can you rephrase that? What do the Romulans want talking so bad? I don't understand that. I'm sorry. Can you rephrase for me? Just look up Admiral Skirkle. Okay. Dark Matter 2133 agree. I don't know who Dark Matter 2133. If y'all want to know, want to kind of get an understanding of who I am, I've actually interacted with Dark Matter 2525, if you remember him back in the day. Means you're getting fat, expanding borders. I am pretty fat. I mean, I'm on the internet, so you calling me fat isn't really, you know, anything groundbreaking. Dark Matter was a good show. I saw like half of the first episode. He just called you a chubby Jonathan Thrank. Well, thank you. I don't care. Oh no, someone called me fat on the internet. Oh no. What am I going to do? God help me. Why did the Romulans want Vulcan? Because Vulcan was the Vulcan is what they consider a part of their empire. The Vulcans are ancestors. They just want to rejoin. The interesting thing about the Romulans is that they were willing to give up a lot for Vulcan. I'm not fat. I just have a lot of space. The Romulan Dodera Dex Warbird is overpowered in a bunch of Trek games. I would agree. Farscape. I haven't watched a lot of Farscape. I don't intend to. And it is very, very unlikely you'll ever see Farscape lore on this channel. I think Doctor Who has better continuity than Farscape. Lord Reloaded, why do you get to see you hanging at... What? Lord, why do you now get to see you hanging? I just haven't been hanging at his house. Hey, Laura, who's your favorite first officer? Probably Kira Nerys, I would say. Hey, Laura, what's your favorite... Oh, I already asked that. Love the Egyptian border. Okay. Oh, you're talking about on the thing. Yeah, I liked it too. I think this is really cool. This is from Stream Elements. Yeah. You already are probably 3/4 of the actual Game of Thrones mountain. You can just shut up. Okay. Honestly, it doesn't bother me. I don't care what you... I mean, whatever. The more you comment, the more likely people are going to see the channel. That's why it doesn't really upset me all that much. I ain't bothered at all. I'd love to see some Babylon 5 lore. JM second, have you seen... I actually have like 2 different series that break down... I break down the entire Earth Alliance Minbari War. So if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. I actually thought you were the guy who played the maintenance chief in Battlestar. Well, thanks, David Meeks. I appreciate that. I dislike DR... Oh, I dislike Doctor Who for reasons you just mentioned. I'll never give Firefly a chance. It's worse than that. Firefly is not worse than that, man. Firefly is outstanding. How long ago were the Romulans outcasted the Vulcans? I mean, thousands upon thousands of years, is my understanding. I honestly God believe the Romulans were the strongest faction in the Alpha and Beta quadrants. Their ships, troops, tech, only until the time the Feds got overpowered as high hell during the Dominion War. I'd agree. Well, no, I take that back. I don't know. The Romulans always came off as a paper tiger to me. They bared their teeth, and they could be a substantial threat, but I don't know that they could defeat anyone. It's okay that you're fat. Just cut your hair, you hippie, says Resolute Germ. Man, you people want to get, like, banned. That's what that tells me. I'm just stirring around. I'm just stirring up around. Don't really want to offend. I don't care, Captain. I was just messing with you, too. Do you have lore and MCU stuff? Asked Slime. I don't have lore and MCU stuff because nobody would watch it. Anything that is not science fiction, you guys do not watch at all. That is just the way it goes. If I want to waste my time, I should do a complete breakdown on something that doesn't involve ships in space. Captain Sock, sorry. I was just messing with you, man. I don't care. DeMarcus Faulkner, haven't seen you in a while. What's going on? I hope you're doing well. Hey, Laura, who's your favorite Starfleet officer engineer? O'Brien, probably, but LaForge and Scotty are pretty close. The only reason I like O'Brien is because he dealt with like Cardassian and Federation technology. I think he did a little bit more. What's your least favorite spaceship? That'd be the Oberth. The Oberth is the biggest waste on God's green earth. If you took a canoe, an honest to God wooden canoe, and you put a baby in it and you launched it into space, and that's it. You don't put any kind of life support, nothing over the canoe. Just strap a baby with duct tape to the canoe, strap a rocket to that canoe, and get it into space. That is safer than an Oberth class vessel. The Federation, to my knowledge, was larger and just about had their own cloak. So if the Romulans attack, I'd see the fight only going so far and then turning in favor of the Federation. No, not the War Canoe. For those back in the day, I didn't know about the War Canoe. That's what we called the Oberth. In fact, I got a shirt. I think it's on Teespring, maybe? Is it Teespring or TeePublic? I think it's Teespring. It's whatever the one that's not... and then it'd be TeePublic. That is not endorsed by YouTube. I actually got the War Canoe on my thing there. For all that matters, you can start. For all that matters, you can start Starfleet Command as an admiral already. Perfect body for the suit. Well, thank you. My heart still belongs to the Firefly class. What about a Starfleet Oberth ship retrofitted with Defiant class tech? An Oberth ship could never be retrofitted. You really only saw an Oberth in wartime. I never saw it, actually, in one of the original series movies. It wasn't in wartime. Death Oculus loves his War Canoe shirt. Yeah, I really like that shirt too. That was really well put together. All right, guys. So this was me relaxing, just hanging out with you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm gonna try to do more. Probably will do more this week, but I don't know after that past this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And again, thank you so much. Jared White says I'm back, giving $10. It really helps out. And my voice is going out. But don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.